Well met, everyone. I am Rich the Lich. Today's video, I'm going to take a little bit of a closer look at Ghosts of Saltmarsh. What I'd like to look at today are the 4 new backgrounds. There's the Fisher, the Marine, the Shipwright, and the Smuggler. And then I'd also like to look at the new monsters and kind of talk through them a little bit, perhaps how I would use them and what sort of game they might be a better fit in, and see if there's anything in there that might work for a world setting or a story that isn't entirely based around water or aquatic. So let's take a look at it. If you saw my review, you know that we are looking at Ghosts of Saltmarsh here in a digital format on a screen as I have it on D&D Beyond. I don't have the actual physical book. Also, if you haven't been reading the comments on that video, well, there's like a comment. Yesterday I had mentioned in the review that I was not sure if there were 2 versions of the map, meaning all the cartography that I see here in D&D Beyond on the digital version of it. It gives me the map for the DM, which has the legend and the numbers on it. And then there's another map where you can click on it that says to look at the player version, where it doesn't have any of that stuff on it. The book, it has been confirmed by one of my viewers that said the hardcover, the physical copy of the book, does not have 2 versions of the maps. It just has the Dungeon Master's version. So there you go. Thank you very much for highlighting that to me and letting me know. Let's get into this. Let's look at it. So very quickly, we'll look at the Saltmarsh backgrounds. So you will see other backgrounds that are available in the player's handbook in here as well. And what these backgrounds have is a bit of information of how they can tie into some NPCs that are within the village of Saltmarsh, or the faction that I believe, yeah, it says right here, the faction known as the Scarlet's Brotherhood. So how they link into either Saltmarsh or the Scarlet's Brotherhood, it's a good way of attaching to some currently existing backgrounds that you may already have for your character. But for the 4 new ones, let's first take a look at the Fisher. You have spent your life Let's start over. You have spent your life aboard fishing vessels or combining the shallows for the bounty of the ocean. Perhaps you were born into a family of fisher folk, working with your kin to feed your village. Maybe the job was a means to an end, a way out of an undesirable circumstance that forced you to take up life aboard a ship. Regardless of how you began, you soon fell in love with the sea, the art of fishing, and the promise of the eternal horizon. So, the new skills that you will get proficiency in are history and survival. You get to pick a language of your choice. For equipment, you get a fishing tackle, a net, a favorite fishing lure, or oiled leather wading boots, a set of traveler's clothes, and a belt pouch containing 10 gold pieces. Very cool. Feature: harvest the water. You gain advantage on ability checks made using fishing tackle. If you have access to a body of water that sustains marine life, you can maintain a moderate lifestyle while working as a fisher, and you can catch enough food to feed yourself and up to 10 other people each day. Very cool. I like that. Fishing tale, you can tell a compelling tale, whether tall or true, to impress and entertain others. Once a day, you can tell your story to willing listeners. At the DM's discretion, a number of those listeners become friendly towards you. This is not a magical effect, and continued amicability on their part depends on your action. So don't be an ass, and they might still like you. You can roll on the following table to help determine the theme of your tale, or choose one that best fits your character. Alternatively, work with your DM to create your own fishing tale. Lobster wrestling. It dragged the boat. Fins of pure gold. Ghostfish. Nemesis clam. It swallowed the sun. You once saw a fish leap from the water and turn day into night. That's cool. Dive into the abyss and love story. Very neat. Fishers succeed only if they spend time at their jobs. As such, most fishers have a strong work ethic, and they admire others who earn their living honestly. They're superstitious, so on and so forth. I won't read over everything, but there's a lot of depth here. It's pretty cool. I like the Fisher. If that's your appeal, being a fisherman, now you have it. There's a good background. Another interesting thing with stuff like this is how you can, and I'll do this when I get into the monsters as well, if everything seems very water-centric, islands and coastline and on a boat and out there in the ocean, I'd like to try and figure out how I would take that monster, assuming he's like amphibious or amphibian where he can breathe outside of the water, and how I would take that monster and why he's present somewhere that is not of his typical environment, right? Because that just creates a little more of an interesting and an intriguing encounter. Likewise, you can take the Fisher, and that can be the background just because you like the flavor of it, but that provides, exactly as it sounds, the background and backstory, but you are now in the Arctic North, and you long to get back to water. It doesn't mean that you need to have a character that plays within a world as such. This is still a viable background. You have your normal ideals, your bonds, your flaws, so a lot of really cool stuff here. I will kind of scroll over it. What you can do is simply pause the video at any point here if you want to really read through everything, of course. So ideals, bonds, and flaws. And then I like how it ties into Saltmarsh. Ada Oland and her family are the informal leaders of the fishing industry in Saltmarsh. You can always count on the Olands for minor aid and can gain access to Ada if the need is obvious and imminent. Cool, it already gives you kind of that Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica thing where by choosing a guild and where your background is, you have an automatic contact. So really cool touch there. Next, let's take a look at the Marine. You were trained for battle on sandy beaches and rocky shores. You have launched midnight raids from swift ships whose names, that's a tongue twister, whose names evoke terror in the hearts of your adversaries. The water is your second home, the rain your shelter, and the crashing waves your battle cry. For proficiencies, you have athletics and survival. You have tool proficiency in vehicles, water and land. Very good. So the ships that are present in this, as you saw me go over exhaustingly sort of in the review already, this might be something that's a good fit for that. Equipment, you get a dagger that belonged to a fallen comrade, a folded flag emblazoned with the symbol of your ship or company, a set of traveler's clothes, and a belt pouch containing 10 gold pieces. Now, here's the cool stuff with things like this. I like when if you watch any of my videos, my reviews, I'm really big on planting seeds in my mind. I don't need to always be handheld. I like to just see some cool lore, story, and background, and things that get the wheels turning and get me thinking and get me asking questions, because as I ask more questions, I have to find answers. And in that, I create things. And that just pleases sort of the way I am as a creative individual. I like when it provides some flavor. It could have easily just said a dagger, a folded flag, traveler's clothes, and so on. And back up here with the fisherman, it mentions, it could have easily just said you get a net and a fishing lure, or oiled leather wading boots. The fact that it says favorite fishing lure kind of informs me as to why is it his favorite one? What's the significance of that? And as a player, you might come up with a few sentences that explain why that fishing lure is so important to you. That just adds more layers and depth and flavor to your character. Likewise with the Marine. A dagger that belonged to a fallen comrade. That might be a touchy subject with you. That might be the catalyst for why you do what you do in the world. It's little things like that in that sentence that's just by adding a couple of extra words that change the whole makeup of this background. Feature, steady. You can move twice the normal amount each day before being subject to the effect of a forced march. 16 hours. That's excellent. That's incredible. And it doesn't say that that only applies when you're out on sea. Just you have that endurance. Additionally, you can automatically find a safe route to land a boat on shore, provided such a route exists. I like that. You know, you can figure out without the lighthouse how to find land. Hardship endured. Cool part there. And then here's the various hardships. Just kind of that past life. Maybe it ties into which fallen comrade the dagger once belonged to. And here you go. Once again, you can pause this as you need if you'd like to look through all this stuff. Here's your personality traits. Here's the ideals. Here's the bonds, and here's the flaws. And then there's a tie-in. As a former member of Saltmarsh's elite Marine contingent, you are friends of Tom and Will Stoutley and can turn to them for help and support. Eleander Fireborn, captain of the guard, also makes time to listen to your concerns. Very cool. Next, we have the shipwright. You have sailed into war on the decks of great ships, patching their hulls with soup bowls and prayers. You once helped build a fishing vessel that single-handedly saved a town from starvation. You have seen a majestic prow in your dreams that you have not been able to replicate in wood. Since childhood, you have loved the water and have been captivated by the many vessels that travel on it. Proficiency in history and perception. You get carpenter's tools, and you get a water vehicle. Very cool. So I need to I'm not going to, in this video, look over that once again, whether it's just something from Player's Handbook Equipment section or here on the ships, as to if there's a level requirement or what are the costs, so that you don't just start with a warship, right? And equipment, you get a set of well-loved carpenter's tools, a blank book, an ounce of ink, an ink pen, a set of traveler's clothes, and a leather pouch with 10 gold. And then the feature you have is, provided you have carpenter's tools and wood, you can perform repairs on a water vehicle. When you use this ability, you restore a number of hit points to the hull of a water vehicle equal to 5 times your proficiency modifier. A vehicle cannot be patched by you in this way. A vehicle cannot be patched by you in this way again until after it has been pulled ashore or it has been fully repaired. And here we go, Life at Sea with a nice little chart. Suggested characteristics, personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Ships make Saltmarsh's economy run. You have contacts with one of the following leaders in town. Choose or roll on the table. Very cool. I like that. Finally, the smuggler. On a rickety barge, you carry 100 longswords and fish barrels right past the dock master's oblivious lackeys. You have paddled a riverboat filled with stolen elven wine under the gaze of the moon and sold it for twice its value in the morning. In your more charitable times, you have transported innocents out of war zones or helped guide herd animals to safety on the banks of a burning river. This guy's very appealing, right? We always want to have a little bit of that little bit darker side to us. Or Han Solo. Athletics, deception are your skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, proficiency in a vehicle. Oh, I was wrong. So on the shipwright, you don't get a vehicle. This is showing you what you're proficient in. Sorry. Equipment. A fancy leather vest or a pair of leather boots, a set of common clothes, and a leather pouch with 15 gold in it. Down low. You're acquainted with a network of smugglers who are willing to help you out of tight situations. While in a particular town, city, or other similarly sized community, you and your companions can stay for free in safe houses. Safe houses provide a poor lifestyle. While staying at a safe house, you can choose to keep your presence and that of your companions a secret. Very cool. Claim to fame. Every smuggler has one tale that sets them apart from common criminals. What was Solo's? Did the Kessel run? And in the comments, let me know how fast. D6, you can roll on that chart. Here's the characteristics, personality traits, smuggler ideals, bonds, flaws. I'm really intrigued to see what their connection is. It's an open secret, at least among the old-timers in town, that Gellin Primewater runs the biggest smuggling operation in this section of the coast. You have contacts with him and his organization, enabling you to request an audience with him as necessary. I hope that's not a spoiler for one of the adventures. If it is, I'm sorry, folks. Next, let's take a look at the monsters. Now, for this, I'm going to use a little bit of a different source. In D&D Beyond, it has this really cool interface where I can pull up all the various content. Since I have everything, I can use all the filters I need to basically find monsters that I'm looking for in any way. So I'll use this interface. It's still D&D Beyond, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at sort of the monster tab where I can search for whatever I want, but I'm sorting it by only coming from monsters that are coming from the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Now, it's going to show a few others. There are 4 pages down here, and you'll notice right down here, this is Ghosts of Saltmarsh, where that's Tomb of Annihilation, that's Volo's Guide. There's Princes of the Apocalypse. All this means is these are monsters that are in Ghosts of Saltmarsh somewhere, right? Whether they're a part of the adventures or it mentions they're some part of the region outside of the village of Saltmarsh. But their initial creation, they initially came from some other book. What I'm going to look at are the monsters that have this little tag here which says Ghosts of Saltmarsh. That means that they are exclusive to this book, first ever made, created, released here within the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. I think there's 54 of them. As such, I'm not going to go over every single one. I'm just going to click on them all, but I'll kind of just talk through a few if there's any that stand out to me or some intriguing aspect of them. But by clicking on all of them, just as you saw I did with the backgrounds, you can certainly pause the video and kind of digest it a little better on your own. So first we have a monstrosity called an Amphisbaena, or whatever it is. I'm not going to try and obsess about too many things that sound like they might be spoilers. So we don't have a picture of it, which is unfortunate. I mentioned that art aspect in my review already, but so it's got a swim speed. That's the first thing I'm going to look at because I want to try and identify if any of these monsters are not aquatic based. Yes, obviously they're favored terrain, just as if I was to sort monsters by terrain types here, environment. All of these from Ghosts of Saltmarsh should pop up, but I want to see if there's any that sort of stand out as maybe some good monster choices that could be used elsewhere if you just want new monsters, but you don't want to have anything to do with water and ocean. This is a 2-headed monster, real low CR, so nothing too big there. Pretty cool. I wish there was a picture, because then you just get... Picture's always worth 1,000 words, right? Barnacle bees. This is amphibious, can breathe air and water, so they're bees. They can go kind of anywhere. And then blah, blah, blah. See, this is the stuff I'm not going to read. So, let's see. The Bullywug Croaker. I like that they give new variants of, when there's a bunch of different new kobolds or goblins and stuff like that. Here you have some new Bullywugs. So, we've got a CR2. He's amphibious. Let's take a look at this real quick. I'm going to he's one of the ones that I'm really going to look at. Let me reset the filters. Sorry. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll pull up the Bullywug. Another tab. Monsters. Filter. Ghosts. And here's the Croaker. So the regular Bullywug can swim and move on the ground. He's faster swimming. Low CR, 2, or 1/4, I'm sorry. And he's got Amphibious. Medium humanoid, neutral evil. Nothing crazy on hit points, armor class. The Croaker, same thing. Medium humanoid, neutral evil, armor class. A little more hit points because he's a CR2 now instead of 1/4. So he's a lot more powerful. He's amphibious as well. This guy can speak with frogs and toads. This is the default Bullywug from like Monster Manual. He has Swamp Camouflage and he has Standing Leap. This guy also has Standing Leap and Swamp Camouflage. He has multi-attack. This Bullywug can make 2 melee attacks. 1 bite, 1 spear. Nothing too crazy to write home about, as you would expect with a CR 1/4. This guy has a spear, a bite, and then he has Glar Pat. That's entirely new. The Croaker sings the song of Marshy Doom. Each chosen creature within 30 feet of the Croaker that can hear the song must make a DC 12 Wisdom save, taking 2d8 Psychic. For a Bullywug encounter, yes, I understand he's CR2, but that's kind of cool in that, and it makes sense, right? Whatever the hell croaking sound is. To have a Bullywug and what would typically be a kind of lower level encounter deal with making a Wisdom save, otherwise you take 2d8 Psychic damage, which is a damage type that is very difficult to resist, almost nothing can. That's a big deal. Half as much, blah, blah, blah. Creature that fails also has disadvantage on Constitution saves until the end of its next turn. And then he has Ruglog. I love that you can say those. Yes, this one's 3 times per day. This one's once a day. The Croaker sings an ode to an Elder Froghemoth. Each Bullywug within 30 feet of the Croaker that can hear the song gains 10 temporary hit points. The one cool thing about a Bullywug encounter is since their CR is so low, you can always have so many of them. Now, when you all of a sudden give all of these things within 30 feet that can hear them plus 10 hit points, that changes that swarm dynamic incredibly. So really cool addition there. So there you have him. And then the Royal. I'm assuming based on the name of it, it's something leadership king-like. So we already know the Bullywug, the regular. Same stuff, a lot more hit points. He's a CR3 now, though. Amphibious, good. He's a brute. A melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when it hits with it. Okay, so he's just dealing more damage. Frog Rider. He had advantage on melee attacks while riding a frog mount. Very cool flavor. Speak with frogs and toads, same thing. Standing Leap, good. Swamp Camouflage, good. Multi-attack, okay. He has a Royal Spear, though. It does more damage if he uses 2 hands with it. I think that's the same for the regular spear. No, it's not. But because of that brute ability, I mean, this guy's putting out 2d8 plus 3 damage. That's a lot. And then he has Croaked Decree once a day. The Royal makes a loud pronouncement. Each Bullywug within 60 feet, that's a big area, of the Royal that can hear the pronouncement has advantage on its next attack roll. Very, very cool. One moment. Checking in with my son. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You let me down, boy. You're supposed to respond. Let's see. Deep Scion, Volos. Okay, the Drowned Ascetic. I can spend an hour on these videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them here. I'm going to let you guys enjoy it because I already had a 40-minute video on the review. I don't want to turn this into a 3-hour analyzation of these monsters, but it sounds like there's a lot of cool stuff here, man. This guy has speed. He can't even swim. Undead, so doesn't need to swim, right? What had happened in Pirates of the Caribbean, they were just walking on the bottom. But just the fact that, remember I told you in the beginning, if I identify something with or without swim, this tells me he might be available in other environments. And I can always go to my filter to see if this guy pops up in Arctic or other areas. And so he's undead. He can go anywhere. So there's that guy. We have the Assassin. Picture there. Very good. Good picture, too. I like it. We have the Master. A lot there. Necrotic Ink. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. We've got the Blade. Kind of a warrior type dude. There he is. What else? A giant coral snake. Nothing too crazy here. You just might see something a little higher CR because it's probably a little bigger. Hence the giant part. A giant sea eel, same thing. A white moray eel, cool. Oh, did that already? The harpy matriarch. When you see that, there's a lot going on here, folks. So really cool. I like it. Fly, obviously, but ooh, I love stuff like this because a kraken is something that's so cool and epic. It's almost like having a baby Tarask. So a little smaller kraken. Yet he's still a damn CR14, but freaking awesome, legendary actions. Very cool. I like it. Coalinth? What the hell is that? Looks like an orc. Man, that's awesome. Nice artwork, buddy. Whoever did that. Martial advantage. Can deal extra damage to a creature it hits with a weapon attack within 5 feet of an ally. Okay. Coalinth. So, page 2. Another Coalinth, but a sergeant this time. Nice touch that they didn't just, they gave some artwork here, so that's cool. We've got the Krellgrove. It's a CR2 guy. A Kaish. Since there's no art, I don't know what the hell this is. It's Triton. Lawful good. Okay. Very cool. A living iron statue. Is this just like an iron golem? Well, it's got all your normal immunities, all that crazy stuff. Whirl. I swear these things are stuff that I've fought in video games or something. Very neat. I'm not going to do all of these here, but you've got lizard folk. So you have a commoner, a render, a scale shield, sorry, not the shaman. That's from the monster manual. But you have a common, a render, and a scale shield. And then you have the sub-chief. Let's check out this dude. Ooh, big spellcaster. Got Dispel Magic. Jaws of Semuanya. The sub-chief invokes the primal magic of Semuanya, summoning a spectral maw around a target. 5d8 piercing. Cool. Lokatha. That guy is one of the earlier pieces of artwork I saw, I think in the introduction. Really neat. He looks good. These things remind me of, I don't know if it's Guild Wars, but I forget what they're called. Guild Wars 2. Something that floats underneath. Look like, I don't know what the hell they are. And then you have a hunter. The Maw of Sokola. That's a legendary. It's a huge monstrosity. Okay, it only swims, so 50 feet. This guy's stuck in the water. What is his big deal? Normal legendary stuff. Tail smash bites. Moves up to its speed. He can feed. He's huge, so big meat shield, a lot of hit points, low AC. Merfolk Savager and a Scout. You have a Minotaur living crystal statue. So that's an even better statue. A monstrous Periton. Large monstrosity. Speed and fly. What the hell is this? Warp Shadow. Chooses up to 3 creatures within 60 feet. You have to succeed on a DC 14 saving throw, wisdom, or become cursed. While cursed, you roll, every time you do roll a die, basically, you roll a d4 and subtract that number from the roll. Okay. Kind of cool, though. CR11. Mr. Dory, CR10. We're not going to read on this guy too much because I'm betting you we're talking about spoilers there. Oceanus. CR1 half. Neutral good elf. Okay. Page 3. We're almost done, folks. Othakent. It's a lizard folk. Alright. A pirate bosun. And then you have a pirate captain. You have a pirate deck wizard. Pirate first mate. I like that, of course. Being that you're talking about waterborne travel ships and all that other stuff, you gotta have some new pirates. So you've got this guy. He just looks shifty. He's lawful good, but he doesn't look right. And then you have Riptide Priest, Sahagin, a bunch of them. New ones, right? So Blade Master, Champion. So, ooh, CR6. That's cool. I like, no artwork, but Check out ArtStation, DeviantArt. You'll find what you need. There's a bunch. Blade Master, Champion, Coral Smasher, Deep Diver, Hatchling Swarm. I don't remember how swarms work. There we go. Can move through tiny creatures. So there's a big swarm right there. Swarm of tiny beasts. Oh man, I love these. I like swarms. Stuff like that's cool. You have a High Priestess and you have a Wave Shaper. These are all new. Completely new, folks. Sanballat. I'm not sure what the hell that is. It's a medium evil humanoid. And then you have Sorev. Look at that picture. That's cool. And then the Sea Lion, a Shell Shark, a Skeletal Alchemist, a Skeletal Juggernaut, a CR5. If the Juggernaut does not have all of its hit points at the start of its turn, it loses 10 hit points. That's cool. He just starts falling apart, as it says. He starts breaking. But he has Avalanche of Bones on a recharge. Uh-oh. The Juggernaut collapses into a large heap before quickly reforming. Each creature within 10 feet must make a dex saving throw, otherwise they take 48 bludgeoning. Okay, it's just kind of cool. Just and then kind of reforms. Neat. And then last page, we have a Skeletal Swarm, another Swarm. Very cool. Swarm rule stuff, folks, so really neat there. 60 hit point. I don't remember how that... I got to read Swarm rules again to refresh how that works. But, cool. Makes sense. I like that feeling. What is it? Spoiler for Aquaman if you haven't seen it. We're good? When he goes in, obviously he goes in. When he goes in the water and he keeps going down, 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 and he's going to the area of the, like the undead things, whatever the hell they are. And he's just overwhelmed. I love seeing stuff like this with like a skeletal swarm, because now you can say that there's hundreds of things swarming the ship, you know. You hit some ghost fog and things went bad. So you have scum. Ooh. I've seen this picture a lot. That's amazing. I'm not going to read this too much because I think this is all spoiler stuff, but it's a CR5 guy. Very cool. Psychic Conditioning. I don't know what that is. And then you have Thousand Teeth. I know he's a named Crocodile. Awesome, beautiful piece of artwork. Very King Kong-ish, one of my art books. And then we have the Minotaur Jade statue, or a statue. Now you have a Vampiric Jade statue, which has legendary actions. Very cool. And finally, you have Yalaga Maladwin. Very neat. So I think from CR, the highest we have here is... So we have a bunch of little things like the swarms. You have the swarm of insects, swarm of... Well, these are not exclusive to Ghosts of Saltmarsh, sorry. But highest CR in here, we've got Mr. Dory, the Periton, and the Juvenile Kraken is the highest. So there you have it, folks. Those are the monsters and the backgrounds from Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This is sort of another version of the video of covering some things that I did not talk about enough, that I saw in some various forums and comments that people wanted to learn about. So there you have it. I hope it helped you in some way. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.